Welcome to episode 3 of our Oakwood theme park recreation series. As can be expected, we're recreating the former Oakwood theme park one-to-one as best as we possibly can within Planet Coaster 2. In case you missed it, last week we constructed the iconic Intamin Mega Splash, Drenched, whilst this week we take a wander down Spooky Street. Now, as of 2025, Spooky Street was a rather sorry-looking area of the park, home to a janky Pinfari family coaster, some trampolines, a teacups ride, a seasonal scare maze, pizzeria, and abandoned dark ride. So, as the new owners of the park, I think it's important for us to breathe new life into Spooky Street, tidying the area up a bit whilst trying to hold on to its original charm. The path down from Drenched is quite a steep one, so I began by dropping the elevation by 4 meters and connecting to the existing path. Because of the park's constantly undulating landscape, I spent a lot of time blending the terrain. The plaza has a strange layout, but I did my best to replicate it using the tools we have. Now, as you can see, the in-game teacups are bloody enormous, so I made the executive decision to replace this with the Tiny Eye, a ride of a similar calibre with an aptly tiny footprint. We'll come back a bit later to integrate this into the plaza. A key feature of Spooky Street is the sunken trampolines in the centre, and whilst these will be non-functioning, I felt it important to retain them. Who knows, Frontier might add some real ones further down the line. I closed off the east side of the plaza with a retaining palisade. Speaking of non-functioning attractions, here's another one. Witch Hunt is a scare maze for the Halloween season with your typical lighting and audio effects, complete with some scare actors and cages. Nothing groundbreaking by any means, so we'll just stick with the exterior for now. All is not lost though. This building is also home to some toilets. Terribly overwhelming. Don't tell anyone, but I also stuck a staff room in there too. Tee-hee. the first of a lot of custom media to come gives our attraction some signage. A little bit of foliage and fencing frames the south side off nicely. This section of the video is so that you can go away and tell your friends and family that you watched a guy make a bin in a video game. That's a trash can to you Americans. There's an iconic and, may I say, elegant style of bin seen all across the UK, and I was keen to replicate it here. As you'll see, I wrapped a functioning bin in various metal and framework pieces. I make the following path arrangement look very easy, but let me tell you, it wasn't. It should have been, but it wasn't. This seating area is surrounded by some planters, so I, well, surrounded it in planters. When creating British foliage, it's important that it looks pretty, but also quite bland. Now that the surrounding pathing is in place, we can return to our tiny eye. I began by raising it up and creating a plaster foundation. Next, another planter. Goodness crikey. I gave the ride platform a wooden border and some metal fencing. Moving on to the Haunt Pizzeria, a restaurant with absolutely no footage of the interior, which caused me no stress at all. However, what we do have is plenty of reference for the exterior. I started with some grey plank walls and once again spent way too long on the pathing. I separated the floor from the build group to sink it just above ground level, and then separated once again to create a couple of 45-degree angles for the doors. Time for some more custom windows, although the station windows for Drenched were far too basic, so this time I went with sash windows. Darling. I did reduce the number of panes though, as it was starting to look like a prison. If you thought custom windows were impressive, how about custom doors? Bloody blimey. In my excitement, I did make these about 9 feet tall, so I later reduced the size. One clue I did have for the interior layout was the position of this fire exit. For them to require a fire escape route next to an existing door must have meant an obstruction between the two and likely the location of the kitchen. Speaking of the interior, I began by placing a couple of pizza pen counters. Something that's easily overlooked in Planco is interior walls. I created these using plaster pieces and took extra care around the windows. There's no better sign of a cheap restaurant than plastic splash guards on the lower walls. It was clear I'd completely lost my mind when I decided to create UK wall sockets out of many teeny tiny pieces. Since placing these TVs running a couple of pizza pen ads, they keep unmuting when I'm working across the way and it's been driving me nuts. Although I suppose it makes sense that the TVs are haunted here. I put a pizza on the wall. Big thanks to Frontier for giving me 2 weeks early access to Update 4, which includes the brand new restaurant feature. I placed a few round dining tables and then some diner-style booths. How very American. To facilitate some lighting, I installed some beams. My goodness, we do love beams. As we take a final peek inside the pizzeria, we must pause. Gosh, very dramatic. I just need to provide some preamble as we move on to the dark ride. If you can cast your aged minds all the way back to the year 2000, that was the year that Oakwood received a brand new dark ride called Voodoo Mansion. However, this attraction lasted a grand total of 2 years before being rethemed and rebranded as Spooky 3D. Spooky 3D lasted much longer, only closing in 2022 with the promise of a brand new dark ride taking its place. Unfortunately for Oakwood, this never materialised. Fortunately for us, this means we get a blank canvas. Huge thanks to a former employee at Oakwood for providing me with some reference media to help recreate the layout, because it exists literally nowhere online. Spooky 3D was a traditional 4-car ghost train, predominantly themed with UV paint and a couple of jump scare animatronics. Although it later reduced to a 3-car operation when one of the cars broke. How sad. The 4th defunct car was displayed near the park entrance, which I might very well add later on. As I like to do with the majority of the dark rides I create, I'm going to show you the finished product, then show you how it all came together. So without further ado, I present Oakwood Manor. It's certainly not going to win any awards, but it'll do for now. After recreating the track layout exactly to scale, I quickly realised this failed to leave enough room for the entrance and exit gates. So, in typical Planko style, I had to make it bigger, only slightly though, don't worry. After positioning our fire exits, I started work on placing the scenery flats. These are simple wooden walls that remain a constant, whilst the scenery and theming are what becomes interchangeable. If you were to ask me how easy it was to theme a spoopy dark ride without any spoopy DLC, I'd say not easy. Not easy at all. So there's every chance that if and when we get some form of spoopy content, I may come back and retheme again. But for now, I went with a haunted manor concept, where the lady of the manor torments those who enter. Groundbreaking, I know. The majority of the ride is themed to the manor hallways, complete with dated wallpaper, skirting boards, and wall sconces. Do they say skirting boards in America? Sounds like a very British term. You'll have to let me know. I also fitted my own custom bookshelf like it was an IKEA flat pack, along with other clutter like suitcases, barrels, and vases. decided to tackle lighting and effects for each scene as I went, rather than facing the burden of sequencing the whole thing in one go. Time to introduce the Lady of the Manor herself, as she turns to face the riders. I was quite happy with this effect, complete with some evil laughter. I, of course, fully modelled the turntable, even including a power cable. Scene 2 and 3 were simple tricks with the red eyes appearing through the hole, and the cheap gag of an owl popping out of a barrel. I would have gone for something a bit scarier than an owl, but options are limited at the moment. I repurposed an AC unit as a projector. The fan is slightly excessive, I know, but it is commercial grade, designed to be left on all day, every day. That's my reasoning, and I'm sticking with it. Time to turn to shock value with our wounded man, slumped in the corner, blood splattered up the wall. Goodness, whatever happened? Definitely not the intended use for these splash pieces, but they work. The long hall at the rear of the show building allows us to make our transition into the UV section. For the tunnel, I used stone ruin walls, wooden beams, wooden planks, and lanterns. I felt it important to pay homage to spooky 3D somewhere in Oakwood Manor, and how better than flooding a room with blacklight, symbolising our descent into the crypt. I achieved this section using copious amounts of custom media and some very ultraviolet lighting. I made some custom pneumatic doors using animated art shapes and a well-timed sound effect. Wherever I could, these doors moved in the direction of the car, but this wasn't feasible on a couple of occasions. Another stone tunnel to transition back to the manor with another cheap scare at the end. Finally, we see our lovely lady turn back to face the wall, signifying the end of her reign of terror and the end of the ride. The station involved much of the same aesthetic, with a custom control booth complete with CCTV monitors. Finally, I created a custom facade, plank by bloody plank, but I reckon it was worth it. If this looks painful at ×4 speed, imagine how it was at ×1 speed. I later copied the entire facade round to each side, adjusting for fire exits accordingly. Now, the astute amongst you will know we're missing one important detail on Spooky Street, the Pinfari RC40 steel coaster named Creepy Crawler. And joining me to implement said coaster is the one and only Yann BK.
Hey, bonjour, how are you?
Bonjour, comment ça va?
Ah, ça va très bien, et toi?
Oui, ça va. I'll stick to English because my French is average at best, but it's so good to finally speak to you. As we were just discussing, it's the first time we've spoken voice to voice, which is mad, but here we are, and very happy to have you here, very happy to have you as part of the Oakwood recreation.
It's an absolute pleasure, man, and yeah, I've done only a little thing. You've done most of the work, to be honest. But yeah, I'm sure you'll take people through everything that you've done.
Yeah, of course. Well, we're here to see your beautiful coaster, but I thought we'd start this end just to kind of get a view of a vista of this plaza, which I think has come together really nicely in the end. But yeah, your coaster just sits on the skyline so beautifully, and it looks just true to life, which is all I could have asked for, really.
Yeah, that was really my goal with it. Obviously, as we've discussed in private, the big challenge with Creepy Crawlers was making it fit in its original size. You know what I mean? I think it's 40 by 16, something like that. Meters, of course. We're Europeans. Sorry, Americans. But yeah, it was a little bit tricky because of all the big Blanco assets, mostly the station, really. I cannot wait to see what you've done with the station, because I was really not looking forward to that. Even the supports, I had to make them different to the real, actual Creepy Crawlers, and as we've discussed before, the offload is not there, so we shall see in a second, guys. Don't worry, stick with us.
The station was always going to be difficult, and don't get your hopes up, because the real station is really boring, so I had to keep it true to life. The queue I had a bit of fun with. I love this building. They put a weird amount of effort into this exterior to the queue line, so it was really nice to recreate that. Managed to get the pretty much exact wallpaper as well here, but there's this kind of
custom media.
It is. It's custom media. Managed to
That's awesome.
recreate wallpaper, which I'm really happy with. But this here is the latter part of the queue, which is basically just a wooden shed. So it looks really boring, but it's exactly what it looks like. It's got these tacky greens and purples, but it is what it is. And when you come to the actual station itself, again, it's literally just a shack. So I couldn't do more. I could have possibly tarted it up a bit, but it is what it is in real life. So,
I mean, exactly. In the end, that was the assignment, wasn't it?
Yes. The aim is to make it a recreation, and we've done that. What we'll do now is jump up here, just so you can kind of talk us through your process and what the challenges were, because I believe there were quite a few challenges in the end.
Oh yes, a lot of trauma that I have to talk about. It's a really tight layout. It's really compact. It's probably the most compact coaster that I've made, even with the ones that I made in Planet Coaster 1. Honestly, once that was figured out, I had to take a few liberties. Mostly, I think it's a little bit wider and a little bit higher. I think it's 2 meters higher. It's 13 meters in the game, and in real life it's 11 meters. I think we can work with that, right?
Absolutely.
The supports were also it caused me a lot of brain farts, in the sense that my layout, again, is not really true to life, even though it's kind of accurate and kind of similar. I still had to redo the supports with the way I had done the layout, and so again, it's not like one-on-one. It cannot be. We're in Planet Coaster, we're not in real life. And don't get me wrong, I still had a lot of fun working on those challenges. But the most fun part is the custom trains. Like, those are just absolutely awesome. Just redoing so this is a Pinfari. I don't exactly remember the model, but it's like a very specific model of Pinfari with over-the-shoulder restraints. And obviously I had to use the multiverse coaster in this game, which is a lab bar coaster. So I had to make custom seats because they have that big headrest thing, and then of course the restraints as well. And then probably the most fun part was making the little, well, creepy crawlers actually, and that was just an absolute pleasure. I love making custom trains in Planet Coaster 2. They're probably one of my favorite parts about Planet Coaster 2, and yeah, I had a lot of fun making those weird trains. And of course, the layout, I tried to keep the jankiness of it all. You know, the really deadly valleys, the questionable banking, and probably rib-breaking banking, and of course the really sharp brakes at the end. So yeah, I hope I did a good job. I'm probably gonna look at the comments to see if you guys liked it, but I hope you liked it, Moomin.
I absolutely love it, and it's so fascinating to hear your process. And yeah, it's exactly the level of jank that I wanted from it, because every kind of POV you watch on YouTube for this coaster just talks about how rough and ready it is, but it's a fun little coaster. It's a fun little family coaster, and you just absolutely nailed it within the constraints of Planet Coaster 2, which is an achievement in itself. But yeah, I'm really happy with it. And without further ado, I think it's about time we jump on it. So once again, thank you so much for making this. Thank you for joining me today. And
You're very welcome.
I think let's not wait any longer. Let's hop on this thing.
Yeah, let's have fun.